Hey, welcome back. I thought today I would share a little bit with you about some of the materials that I use to create my paintings. You have already heard me talk about the Masterson Say Wet palette system, which allows me to work my acrylic paints in a very similar manner to oil painters. And today I'm going to talk to you about some of the other items that I use. Specifically, here are a couple of the paints that I like. You know that I am a huge advocate of golden paints, and hello Da Vinci. I love this brand. I have been using these paints since I was in college, and I particularly enjoy the pigment to filler ratio. These golden paints or golden products are some of the highest quality products that are out there on the market right now, and the company offers a really wonderful support system via their website, a staff of actively working artists who know their product very well, and they also have people on board with the home company to assist artists with any inquiries they have about how product may or may not work. So historically, I have always used these heavy body paints, and these come in a variety of dispensers, tubes, or jars, depending on the size that you get. But recently, I have been using a variety of mediums, also made by Golden, to change the viscosity of my paint. And when I started doing that, it came to my attention, or I learned, that Golden fluid acrylics, which are essentially the same paint as the heavy body, just a little bit looser in viscosity, these are actually a better value for me because I get more pigment with these when I thin them with a medium than I do when I'm starting with an already thicker base of paint. So you may see that I am using some of the fluid acrylics in the future. I'm slowly replacing my heavy bodies with those as I run out of the particular colors. Here is just a few of the mediums that I use to change the viscosity of my paints, and I won't go into all the detail of that, but feel free to ask questions when you see me actively painting, or you're trying to, you have questions about a particular end result, and I'll share some of those formulas with you. I do have a lot. And another thing that I use is a spray bottle. In the spray bottle, I have a spray bottle that just includes water, but I also have spray bottles with various formulas in them, and I mark them with the formula on a piece of masking tape so that I know what it is when I'm grabbing. So this is 1/8 of a cup of airbrush medium to a cup of water, and that's just a formula that I found that really gets the paint to scoot across the surface very easily for me. You'll also have heard me talk about the house paints that I use. These are just little sample jars that I get from my local home improvement store. This happens to be the brand that they carry, so that's what I use. These jars are about $2 each, and I get them matched to whatever colors I am using at the time. So I can take in a swatch of my golden paint, light violet, and give that to the gentleman at the paint mixing counter, and he can mix me a little container of this paint in the same color. These paints do not have a high pigment to filler ratio. As a matter of fact, they're almost all fillers, and they're very chalky. But what they do is they give me the opportunity to put the first couple layers of paint down on a very large canvas without stressing about the cost. So again, I get them mixed to approximate what I have in the golden colors. I know they're not going to react or give me the same sort of variety of hues that the golden paints do, but what they do give me is the opportunity to go big and work spontaneously or directly without freaking out about having a $20 tube of cadmium red go down the drain if I don't like the painting. I also love these brushes. I have a huge variety of brushes that I've gathered over the years, as I'm sure you have as well. These are my favorite, and they have been for a number of years. These are made by Utrecht. They are a synthetic brush, which is perfect for acrylic paints. They're called Mangalon, Mangalon. They have a black handle, and then there's a variety of bands of color on them depending on the shapes. These are either flats or brights. I can't recall. They might be brights because they actually have a B on the handle. But what I love about these is how clean and crisp the edge is on these brushes, and it stays that way. I'm really hard on my brushes. I work them for hours every single day. And so to be able to have a brush stay nice and clean for me is a critical point. And these brushes don't break the bank either. So I continue to purchase them. I also condition my brushes at the end of every paint session with this brush cleaner. It's just a little cake of soap that I use, and I leave it on my brushes overnight or until the next painting session. The other thing that I use that you'll see me using on my canvases, or you maybe won't see me using them, but you'll see the effects of them. I love Vine charcoal and just a cheap dollar box of sidewalk chalk. If my paint is dry, these are both fabulous tools to redraw my shapes and reestablish my edges, make sure that my drawing, the bones of my drawing, the bones of my painting are solid. So I keep a plate of these on hand. And finally, my journal. I put a question up on the Patreon earlier today if anybody was interested in seeing some of my preliminary work, or the most basic bones of the idea process. And one of the ways I do that is through a series of different journals. This happens to just be a composition notebook. They're sold for 99 cents in most office supply stores. This one has a grid form paper to it. And this particular journal, I have them for different subject matters. But this is the one that I carry with me all the time right now. It's my personal learning journal. So if I go to a meeting, I will have it with me, and I will take it to that meeting and take notes in it. If I read an article that I find is particularly interesting, like here are some notes on a Robert Genn article about jurying that I really liked. I will also try different pens or nibs or things out. But this book is essentially just all a recording of my learning journey from November of 2018 to the present. So I label everything on the spine, and then I keep these all in my studio. So here's a page recently on Sargent teachings. I have been playing with his particular palette this week, and this would be the page that inspired that and gave me some of the ideas about what I could do and how I could work with his palette. And here's some continued notes on edges, things that I'm actively thinking about, as well as the names of some artists that I researched or looked at their work while I was actively learning. So these are a few of the tools that I use. I'll do another one of these in the future with some of my surfaces. I use a variety of surfaces depending on what the end result is. But I think this will help give you a little bit of an idea of the raw materials that go into my paintings. One other comment about the paints that you actually use. I know that golden paints are very expensive. They're one of the most expensive acrylic paints out there. I'm not going to tell anyone that they have to go out and buy these paints. I don't get a kickback from Golden in any way. I just truly believe in their product. When students ask me, they're torn, they don't know what to buy, I say buy the best paint that you can afford. Buy the best paint that you can afford. Because at some point, If you are buying paint that you can't really afford, then the actual use of that paint can be a trigger. It can keep you from trying out new ideas or jumping into a painting with a ton of enthusiasm, because all you can think about is how much each brush stroke is going to cost you. So buy what you can afford and work your butt off to learn as much as you can, so that when that tube of paint is empty and you go back to replace it, you have a little bit more income perhaps from your artwork or other sources, and you're able to buy a nicer paint. And I also want to point out that one brand's cadmium red is going to be different than another. So you may find, as you're trying out different brands of paint, that you happen to prefer a certain brand's cadmium red over another, and that's totally okay. Acrylic paints are completely interchangeable across the board from brand to brand. So let me know if you have any questions about these items, or maybe something else that you don't see here, and I will be happy to answer them. Thanks so much. Have a great day.